when I stand in front of him, I want to have some of those things where he's going to say, I know you worked at this. Everybody always wants to know what's your angle, especially non-white people. What is it? Why are you doing this? And of course that comes from 500 years of white people not doing anything good unless there's something in it for them, and I understand that. And in a way, I'm in that same category there. I have children. I have grandchildren, more grandchildren on the way. I don't want those children growing up having to dodge bullets. And the young black man he's a much different product of our oppression than what the young black man was 100 years ago. I don't want my children in a civil war in this country between black and white. So in that way I'm selfish, see, and the fact that I want God to smile on me and say, I've seen you do, that in itself is selfish. But he's also given me a burden. And there's not any way that I can ever say to you that I know what you go through. See, there's no way that I can do that. And he gives me understanding that I can't do that. I can't know what your life is because of the color of your skin, because of the amount of melanin that God placed in your skin. I can't know that, but he has given me a heart to hear the pain when your child is mistreated because of the color of that child's skin, that beautiful child. He's given me the ability to have a small degree of understanding about that. And for me not to act on it would be unforgivable in his sight.
How did you come to this level of understanding and the decision to speak the way you speak and do what you do? Because as you said, for instance, you don't hear from the pulpit from white preachers who read the scripture and promote and encourage Christian living, for instance. But yet your faith path seems to be the same, yet you have a different perspective. What influencing factors caused you to be where you are?
I don't want it to sound trite when I say that God reached down and touched me at an early age. I had, excuse me, if any of my kinfolk ever see this, then I'll lose more than what I've lost already. I was born into a family where my father was an overt racist, my mother was a covert racist, but both of them had very strong, I always felt like my mother was more dangerous in that respect. But so it was not something that came to me from training as childhood. But I was also born with cardiac lesion. And through that, I was different from other children because I was so ill at a certain period of time when other children were out running playing. So I was different, which gave me an understanding of what it was like, how people felt to be different. And then as I got older, this knowledge that these things were wrong, as I acted on those things happened to me adverse things. I belonged to a Southern Baptist church. I was saved in that church. And I was thrown out of that church in my early 20s, which was back in the 60s, because I taught that racism was wrong in a Sunday school class. I was asked to leave that church, and the elder of the church, the deacon of the church that came to me and talked to me about it the first time was my grandfather. And he said, you can't say these things. And I said, I can't not say these things. And so he came back with other deacons and they asked me. So it's been a process. But then when my youngest son was in the 7th grade, he brought home with him a young black male child that was in his class. And he came in, and my children have always believed that with my mouth I could make anything right. I could speak. And he came in, and John, the African-American child's name, he stayed outside. And Mark came in, and Mark said to me, Mama, I've got a friend, and you've got to help him. And when we talked, John was a big, strong, athletic child. And if someone called him a word, if they called him nigger, if they said something, then he just got mad, fought. And Mark said, he's going to kill somebody and end up in jail. You got to talk to him. You got to help him. And because of the circumstances, he was the child of a single mother, and her job was second shift. It evolved in that he stayed with us from Sunday night when his mother went to work until Friday afternoon when he would go home and then be with his mother and his sisters in the afternoons and the weekend, and she would bring him back. So he lived with us, and we would get threats because we lived in a white neighborhood and John was living with us. Mark, it reached a point where Mark would be more angry than John would at the things that would happen at school because they loved each other. They cared about each other. We had one bed in their bedroom, so they traded out. One slept on the floor and the other one had the bed, and the next night it reversed, But through him, because he constantly had to fight